say hello to our callers.
Okay, the first one is Audrey, and I've already got her microphone on. So there you go.
Hey, young lady, I apologize we missed you last week.
Oh, let us go in the now.
All right, I'm with you. How do you be? Happy Eternal Day.
Thank you. And I'm
late,
calling, I'm seeking guidance.
Okay.
And I'd like to set up, okay, this past Saturday, I was in a group. Usually the core group is maybe 4 or 5 people. This Saturday, there was the facilitator, another being, and myself. The other being walked through the door and was very restless, okay? And the meeting started, and she still was restless, but she had a problem with me. The facilitator didn't, but the being did. And she stormed out, okay? And the facilitator and I went on with the meeting. We had a wonderful meeting. Afterward, now I had not said anything. Afterward, the facilitator called the being, and it was on speakerphone. And the being was berating me. And the being, at one time, because I just got up and left, I thanked everyone in the meeting, left, and the being addressed me and said, I didn't go out to lunch with them. And I simply didn't go out to eat because I had to come home to feed my dog. Okay, so I take it that there is a pattern here. Now, when the facilitator and the being was talking on the phone and the speakerphone, she was berating me. And that's okay because that's where she's at. Now, on this Saturday, I liked the facilitator, I liked the content, but we are all interconnected, we're all interrelated, all right? We're all interdependent. The reason I'm seeking guidance is my responsibility to myself, to the group, or that is my question. Where does my responsibility lie? Because I enjoy the group, but do I go to the group, and if the being was there and the being has a problem with me, I don't want to upset anybody. You know, I need guidance. Please help.
Well, I guess first of all, I would ask that question, what excuse is this person using for blaming you for their upset?
The facilitator opened it up for discussion, and the being said that I talk too much. She knows me, and this person, the facility doesn't, and I talk too much. Those were her words, not mine.
Right. So, and what does that bring up for you? What happens for you when you hear that?
What happens is that I evaluate it. It's not a judgment. I evaluate it, and I say, it's not coming from love. It's coming from an antonym of love. It is coming for the opposite of love. I accept the being for who she is, what she is, but do I go to the meeting, and if the being is there and it's upset with me, do I take my presence and go there? I mean, the facilitator, I mean, I've always asked, I'm fairly new. Maybe I've been to the group maybe 6, 7 times. She never has a problem with me. Nobody else has a problem with me. But do I continue to go? I like to go.
Well, let me make a comparison to what happens with the radio show. It's always been our policy that if someone calls into the show, it's their platform until we're here to support them. And it's their platform until they're finished processing whatever's going on for them. Now, sometimes people who we say that to go, oh, well, yeah, but I should. And it's like, no, that's what we're here for, and you deserve that kind of support. And I've had others who complain about that. Well, this person or that person took too much time. They had too many issues. It's like, well, that's what this radio show is about, is supporting people in whatever's coming up for them. And, when it's your turn to be on the show, I would say to the person who's complaining, when it's your turn to be on the show, you'll get all the time you need. And we'll be here to support you through whatever you need to move through. So my offering would be that it's the facilitator's responsibility to, and I don't know what kind of a group it is, but whatever it is, my take would be it's the facilitator's responsibility to set the ground rules. And if the facilitator is happy with what you're doing and how you participate, then, and you enjoy doing the sessions, I would go every Saturday. If I were you, that would be my take. And, obviously you trigger something for this person. And, again, I don't know exactly what kind of a group it is. Maybe the facilitator could invite them to process whatever it is that's going on. But I wouldn't say that I wouldn't stay away because somebody else plays this game of you've triggered me and now I'm going to blame you for what I'm feeling. That would be my take. Absolutely, I would go.
Well, thank you for the guidance. And I just, I just really, I am so thankful for the book, for the radio program, and for the many, many tools, because it has certainly enhanced the quality of my life. And I turned 83 on September 6th, so it's never too late to learn.
Well, happy Eternal Day, and we hold that this is going to be the best year yet of your eternal life.
It is already in the now. Thank you.
All right. Awesome, young lady. Any other thoughts for you?
Everything is well. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Miss Jeannie, we've got another hand up.
Well, Celinda texted me and said that she does not have time to do the worksheet today, but she did have her hand up earlier, so I'm going to turn on her microphone and see if she has anything to say. Hi, Celinda.
Cool. Hey there, young lady.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
We're rocking.
Yeah, I have a work commitment this morning, so I can't get on, and and also a commitment tomorrow. I would like to get on Thursday or Friday if that works for your schedule.
Absolutely.
Oh,
come on and let's play when you've got the space to do that.
Oh, I'm really excited about it. I finished the worksheet with my mom, and
right.
I've got, my grandmother lined up. I'm trying to find out all the information I can about my mother's side of the family. I know nothing about my grandmother's side, so I have no contact with her Logston side at all, mostly because I think most of them have died already. And then I will go on to my father. I'm making connections, intergenerational connections right and left. And I'm amazed at how, I am utterly amazed at how the patterns repeat themselves from generation to generation. For example,
you're hearing some of the same stories, you mean?
Oh, well, even in the number of children they have and the marital relationships they have, it's just utterly amazing. Utterly amazing.
Well, you listen to that scriptural quote that says, look to the lives of the fathers, and of course that implies fathers and mothers, for ours are but a shadow of theirs upon the earth. And that's what most people are doing, is simply living out those ancient patterns. I came across a quote the other day from Carl Jung that I had not seen before. Let me just get to it on my page here. And he says, the greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents.
I'm hoping that you have all of these Jungian quotes that Jeannie, you're able to put them in one little PDF as you come across them. They are just utterly amazing. I was always impressed with Jung, but the more I listen to the quotes that you dug up, the more impressed I am. I have my Episcopal priest lady friend of 30-some years that we're real strong friends. She said that she ran across a statement about Jung or something she read about him, his biography or something. And she said when he was 8 years old, he was going to church with his father. And he looked up into the clouds and he saw God peeing on the church. I thought that was pretty amazing. And he was 8 years old.
No.
Isn't that a visual? And just like it must have guided the rest of his life. I thought that was sweet. With all due respect to their religion attempts to understand. I have a lot of compassion, I think, because I grew up in a very religious background, and I can go back and I understand. I'm beginning to really understand that I still have my father's King James Bible because his imprint is all over there. What he read, the notes he made, the little pieces of paper he slipped in, and and yet I never knew before that I think you were the one that said it, that the founding fathers considered the King James Bible a governmental document. I shall definitely keep that in my file.
Well, definitely the king directed that. He wanted things to give him the divine right of kings. There were things introduced there that were never in the previous contents of the scriptures, for sure.
Right.
It was interesting back, it's probably 6 or 8 weeks ago now. I did a still point session with a gentleman who's a trained Jungian therapist. And he said that in the quantum still point, he found the missing pieces of Jung's work. So bringing those insights, to me, the most profound insight from Jung is that one where he says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. And until the physiology opens up and yields up its dissociated secrets, there's no complete healing. And so, it's all part and parcel of the process, is the opening of the veil of the temple and the opening the energetic pathways for the temple to, to release what's locked in bone. I don't know, back several months ago, I did a still point session, and I had a whole download on what was locked in bone And that's what started me moving in the next direction of creating the quantum still point. Because until what's locked in bone is released and allowed to flow out of the structure, given pathways to flow out of the structure, the tendency is to be stuck in those unconscious dynamics. So it's all part and parcel of the healing process.
That's fascinating, and I'd like to continue this conversation. I will finish up with one last comment. It's so fascinating you ended it with that, because in Carolyn Mace's The Anatomy of Spirit, she puts the structure of the body right in the seventh chakra, the lotus chakra, the top crown chakra. I think that's fascinating. And the skin, and I can't quite remember what, I'll be glad to send you that pages if you're interested, because I thought that's fascinating. And now I must go to my commitment. I really appreciate you and Jean. And I will come. Yeah. And I'll do that worksheet with you as soon as I can get on the show and have the ability to do that with you. Hopefully Thursday or Friday.
Awesome. Between now and then, we'll hold the space for you.
Sweet. Thank you to both. Big hugs.
All right. Well, Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody else in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all quiet, and we have 40 minutes. So I'd say go back to what you were wanting to read about the end of suffering.
Cool. Let's go for it. So the end of suffering, I started to talk about this the other day, and we're just going to do a continuum. There are 2 chapters of the book that have been written. You can go to the website and listen to those chapters being read to you. We don't have the printed material on the website at this point, but back about close to probably 18 or 19 years ago, there was a minister of at Unity in Fort Lauderdale, or pardon me, in Sarasota, Florida, and we did a session at the Unity Center there in Sarasota, where the end of suffering, it's written in a similar format to Why Is This Happening to Me Again? It's a conversation. And Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Is written with myself instructing and having a conversation with the character Richard. Well, the end of suffering is written in a similar format, except that it's Yeshua instructing a character in the book, not me, and looking at his thoughts on correcting the misinterpretations of those ancient words. So we're not going to be doing a teaching here. You know, oftentimes you look at churchianity and they're giving you teachings about Yeshua. And if you think that that's what we're heading toward, I want to give you the caveat that no, that's not what where we're going. And if you hold on to that thought, then you'll probably be disappointed, and you might even think what I'm going to have to say is blasphemous. So, but if you're here to learn teachings of the man, then you're going to be very warmly surprised and I think delightfully rewarded, especially if you've ever been abused in his name, which sadly many people have. Many people expect the Creator to deliver all the things they want. In fact, they've created a whole misinterpretation of one particular word, and you'll guess what the word is when I give you the definition that churchianity has for the word. And the definition is putting your order into the cosmic gift catalog, telling God what God should be doing. And we're told that that's prayer. Yeshua had quite a different idea. In fact, you'll remember that the disciples obviously were very confused about this idea of prayer, as many people are yet today, because they asked him to teach them how to do it. Now, if prayer is putting your order into the cosmic gift catalog, everybody knows how to direct God and tell God what God should be doing for them. That's got nothing to do with prayer. In Aramaic, the word prayer, more literally translated, means to set a trap for God, which sounds kind of bizarre at first. You're going to trap God? Well, let's think about it just a little bit differently. Let's get some new brain cells here. If we listen to the physicists today, they'll tell us that we are moving through the universe, planet Earth. The planet, of course, with us planted on it, is moving through the universe at about 7,000 miles an hour. Now, when you realize you're moving at 7,000 miles an hour, our brain makes it look like, no, that's not true. It couldn't be true. Look, everything's standing still. No, the planet is actually moving at that speed. Though we don't perceive it that way, which, gives you a big heads up on how false perception can be. And the scriptures also tell us that in the Creator, literally, we live, move, and have our being. So if you and I are made in the image and likeness of the Creator, if we're made of Creator stuff, and we're moving through the field of the Creator, what that would mean, when I go back to my physics background, my original work in the field of electronics and physics, what that means is that continuously moving through this energy field, the interaction of the two being in resonance with each other, because they are of the same nature and the same character, just like two middle C tuning forks. If I hit one middle C tuning fork on the desk, the second middle C tuning fork automatically starts to move because of the transfer of energy. If I'm made of Creator stuff and I'm moving through the Creator's field, then there is a continuous flow of energy or information to me from the Creator. And if I am set properly, if my antenna literally, which is the bony structure of the body, is set properly, is moving through a proper range of motion, which is part of restoring that range of motion is part of the quantum still point process. If I am in that proper set, then I am continuously receiving, I'm an antenna that's continuously receiving energy from the Creator. And that means capturing literally the energy of the Creator. That's what prayer means. If you look at when they said to Yeshua, they didn't say, pray for us. He didn't say a prayer. Just what it means to pray. And then he gave them a set of instructions for how to align and orient themselves so that they would capture the energy that was continuously being fed to them, because they had been knocked out of alignment by a world of hostility and fear. You note in other places, he says, don't repeat and repeat like the pagans. And yet, what do people do with those words of Yeshua? Or the mistranslation of those words, misinterpretation of those words from 2,000 years ago. Most of them every Sunday, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Get through it as fast as you can and say the words. There we go, now we've prayed. No, you haven't. Stop tricking yourself. If you listen to the words, and you can go to our YouTube channel, and you'll find a link called Living, Not Saying the Lord's Prayer. And I go, and that's not the subject of today's topic, but I go through the whole process of what those instructions mean. And they are how to align yourself to function as the antenna that literally brings information directly in from that energy field, for want of a better word, in which you live, move, and have your being. And The creation can only deliver to you what you are aligned with. Now, lots of people think they're praying when they put their order into the Cosmic Gift Catalog and say, God, give me health. God, give me wealth, money. God, give me happiness. Give me love. God can't give you those things if you're aligned with and aligned for rage and guilt and grief and blame and drama and trauma. The Creator can't give you those things. It's up to you to realign yourself. Yeshua is giving instructions for how to end suffering, which was pretty much universal on the planet at that point. These things that everybody says they want are in our own hands. And so recognizing that, we orient and align ourselves properly to literally bring the energies in from the Creator that we're designed for. Now, as a comparison, to understand the energetic dynamic of it, isn't it interesting that when you're driving down the road and your car is running, your car generates enough electricity to keep your lights on? Where does that come from? Does it come from your battery? No. If it came from your battery, you'd get 10 or 20 or 30 miles and your battery would go dead. But you can go thousands of miles and your battery stays alive. The electricity isn't coming from your battery. The electricity is coming from the fact that the turning engine rotates some wires in a magnetic field, and the transfer of energy, the flow of energy induced in those wires, provides the electricity to run your lights and keep them running for thousands of miles. Or if your battery's weak, that flow of energy through induction will charge your battery. When two fields interact with each other and there is resonance, there's an exchange of energy between them. You're designed to be in a continuous exchange of energy with the Creator, not a continuous exchange of energy with a world of rage and guilt and grief and pain and drama and trauma. So when you recognize that, and we started this whole conversation out, you'll remember, with a question a few days back about Rahma and Kuba. And when they said to Yeshua, what's first in the law? He didn't say, love your neighbor, love God as yourself. Again, we'll repeat that. He said, have Rahma for the Creator. And Rahma is to hold to the condition of love first. He didn't say anything about loving your neighbor because the Creator is going to be upset with you and punish you if you don't. He said it because you're designed to function out of your created essence, which is love. And when you realize that, then you realize that all of those things that you want are in your hands. And what he instructed was, seek ye first the space where you know who you are and you function from love. And that was called heaven, which, it's interesting that we hear people talking about, do you know where you're going to go when you die? Though it's someplace off in the sky. And Yeshua said, if somebody tells you it's over there or over there or over there, don't believe them. It is here. It is now. It is within you. Find that first. Be in that state of exchange of energy with the Creator, in that state of love, and everything you want will be added into you. It is in your hands. It's not in the Creator's hands. So, seek ye first the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven, and we're not talking religion here. We're talking about where we really, truly live. That instruction was not given because some weak, self-centered creator would be offended if you didn't do it. Following that directive is not to benefit the creator. God does very well without that. You know, many are like, oh yeah, well, God needs this from us. No, that's not true. God set something, the creative force of the universe set something up for us and said, attune with it if you choose to, and if you don't, well, you know, that's your business. So that instruction of Rockman was given so that you could function out of your true self. And you'll notice that, you know, you listen to a lot of people who do the fear-based churchianity thing, and they're talking about illicit sex and adultery and theft and premarital sex and homosexual sex and all kinds of sin. You notice that the first law doesn't say anything about any of that stuff, any of that garbage. What it addresses is the lack of the presence of active love in our minds, in our bodies, in our homes, in our churches, in our leaders, in our politics, in our policies that govern the world. And then take note that all of the sin, and remember the word sin in Aramaic is an archery term that means nothing more than off the mark. If you fired an arrow at the bullseye and you missed the bullseye, the scorekeeper would yell sin. You're off the mark. That's all it means. All of the things that people prattle about in that realm come from the fact that we are buying into a world of hostility or fear, which voids the presence of our human lives, voids the presence of love in us, and voids the presence of the Creator's energy active in us. If you want to step into eternity that you're designed for, then you have to pick up and make your work. Do your work, pardon me. And sadly, both the cross and Yeshua have been used as weapons to hack at those who don't agree with them. You know, the superior ones who know and want to keep the wall up between those who are, you know, the prickly herd, people who are legends in their own minds, wield these things as weapons and have no idea that they're living in blockage of truth themselves and how much damage they do by doing that. If you're condemned by a theology in the name of one who, when he was on the earth, said, "Neither do I condemn thee," if you're living in a theology that says, well, just wait, he'll judge when he comes back, when he said, when he was here, no, I'm not doing that, that's not my job. You'll notice the Pharisees wanted him to do the judgment game. And he literally said to the woman that they wanted him to judge, "Neither do I condemn thee." Not my job today. And you can bet at some point off in eternity, if somebody's keeping you in terror about that, not going to be his job at any point in the future. And you'll notice that Yeshua never aimed for victory over anybody, superiority, or even conversion to a religion. Conversion, yes, this work is about conversion, but it's got nothing to do with joining a church. What we're looking to do, what he was looking to do, was to convert people from egotistical, self-righteous, judgmental minds, to bring them back to convert them to functioning out of a love-based mind, one that was attuned to that energy field in which we live, move, and have our being. That was his only goal. And attuned to that means that love is flowing through your cellular structure. And love flowing through your cellular structure is the very definition of life. And you'll notice that he said, I come to bring you life, not dogma, not doctrine, not condemnation of somebody, not judgment. I come to bring you life. And life more abundantly. And he said the first order of business, if you're going to live that way, you need to put an end to interfering with the flow of love through your structure. That means you need to forgive all forms of hostility or fear, because only hostility and fear in tissue restrict life and create suffering. And once again, you'll notice when he gave that directive, have Rachma for the creator, for neighbor, and by so doing you maintain yourself. He then said the understanding of everything to do in the scriptures was based on that. Upon this hangs the law and all its prophets. And we have this world with so much religious claptrap about Yeshua that the truth of what he brought has been lost to a great degree. You know, if you listen, you'll notice he never recommended an altar call. He never demanded belief in who he was as a gateway. In fact, he said, deny me if you will, but you about the source of love within you that embraces you and that you need to attune to, which is what was called the Lord's Prayer was about, was a set of instructions for how to attune to that, so that love flows through you and falls upon anyone that you look at, like it does, like the rain does from the Creator, that your active presence of love, that you are so filled with that you function out of that, and it naturally just pours out to anyone and everyone, just like the Creator put the rain out there. It falls on the just and the unjust. There's no restriction, there's no judgment about it. So, you know, time to stop quizzing our neighbors about their theology. Time to stop pretending we have some kind of a secret that somebody else doesn't, a secret that keeps us in the realm of the superior, and be restored to living as the active presence of love. And if you have erred, then learn to embrace yourself in the active presence of love. Learn to embrace someone who believes they've erred. Learn to be the active presence of love that holds them in that space, instead of offering the conditional acceptance. Well, if you do this, if you live up to that, then I can embrace you. So in essence, what Yeshua does is he gives that all-embracing presence to anyone, especially the people at what the holy ones would call the bottom of the barrel. And there's never a threat to remove it and send you to a fiery place if you don't kowtow to his theology. In truth, Yeshua's theology summed up in one single word: love. And let me extend that active presence of love to you, rather than ask if you're a member of my club and so that I can withhold approval and offer you hell instead. Or rather than ask you if you're part of my clan or my political persuasion. He doesn't say, let me see if you qualify for disfellowship because you hold your nose the wrong way when you say the word creator. He didn't say talk about me, he said follow me. How do you tell a Pharisee when you're facing one. And a Pharisee is not, in this context, understanding it is simply a mind functioning out of internal hostility and fear, generally puked out on others. So the end of suffering starts out with Yeshua asking the question. This is the first chapter. And again, if you go to our website, whyagain.org, you can go back, you can find the link to the recording of Don Jackson, the minister from Unity in Sarasota, and myself. We did this reading one Sunday. He played the character, and I played the voice of the Creator. So he's of Yeshua. So Yeshua starts out saying, "You realize they killed me twice." The character says, how is that possible? If someone's been killed, obviously they can't die again. He says, if you understand from my cultural point of view, from my Aramaic mindset, you would know that my teaching and I are one. I was restored after they killed my body, but since my teaching was hidden by changing the meaning of my words, it has not been recovered. My teaching is far more important than my personal self, my personal name. The character says, but I've heard preachers over and over condemn people to hell for not receiving you, for not believing in your name and obeying someone who sure appears to be acting under your authority. Without you, they say, there's no way to make it, that we're all lost, condemned to hell, and you are the only way out. They say the question, have you accepted Jesus, as if it is of paramount importance. Yeshua says to the character, is there anywhere that you've heard me suggest setting people up to feel like outcasts or worse, failures with such a question? People set themselves up as a special group apart from others with that awful question, and then people give the wrong answer and they're pounced on with a fear trip, the likes of which I certainly never engaged in and have never seen. I came to teach people to heal fear and its corresponding mental illness, not put people in fear and separation, which is the source of untold damage. Unreformed reformers, the very people I came to free from suffering, the false teachers who use fear, have to a great degree taken over my teachings and in many cases turned my words totally and completely backward. My purpose was to increase people's experience of life, to bring each individual to the direct experience of themselves as love and inspire them to facilitate that experience in others. That's what I came for. He shook his head. Interesting, so many teach the opposite of what I said and use threat and force their interpretation of my words, especially if their pronouncements are rebuffed. But what about going to hell for rejecting you? Have you looked at what I said about someone who rejects me? The declaration on the subject was, and if any man hear my words and believe not, I judge him not, for I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. Let them reject me. That's perfectly fine. Do you suppose someone who condemns another in my name, when I, with great deliberation and foresight, sent the same person my blessings functioning in my name? You've been tricked. Do you think the person who speaks the exact opposite, the reverse of what I taught, knows me? The character speaks back to Yeshua. Well, I was taught the pathway to a sane, severe life is based in love. And Yeshua says, exactly. And if someone does not follow that pathway, who am I to threaten and force them? Threat and force are tools of darkness. that cloud the mind of those who use them, and the tools one uses always produces a result just like the tools. Make no mistake about it. One who condemns another to hell sentences only themselves. Any form of condemnation is a grave error. Whatever pious front one puts up, one only condemns so easily because they live in fear and feel condemned themselves. It is a projection. This kind of intimidation has been around forever and is a product of the exact opposite of what I taught. It comes from a fear-based mind. Do you recall what I said when those who used fear to control the religious of my day tried to trick me into judging and condemning? My rule was clear. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Yes, I did inform people that there were certain energies destroy those who engaged in them. Energies that were self-destructive and off the mark. But to use those very energies rooted in fear to try to force people into obedience was not anything I ever supported. How do I reconcile what I've been taught, says the character he's talking to. You're supposed to be, quote, the way, the truth, and the life. If not you, then what's important? How do I figure this out? Fortunately, says Yeshua, you do not need to figure it out. Just listen to my words. I've told you how it works, but interpretations that keep you in fear are put on my words. If you want to follow me and someone puts words and meanings into my mouth, but you can't find where I said it, or it is inconsistent with the first principle of as living as love, as I taught, I suggest you consider what they're saying suspect. People often want someone to do their work for them. Someone who claims to be more powerful, one who can rescue them from their own weakness, or better yet, save them through some magic incantation. That wasn't my teaching. In essence, humans resist change and think if they just say the right name, they can do anything and hope that shouting that name will save them from the consequences of their shouting. And that is a lie. Most say things like, well, just give me a name to call on. Don't make me look at myself and face myself and change. Let me stay the same. Let me go my merry way with my rage and guilt tripping. And then have somebody fix it for me. Somebody else take care of my life. To them I said, if another shall come in his own name, you'll receive him. But they ignored me and shouted all the more, no, it is you who must do it for us. I cannot do it for you. I did not come for that, but to show you how to heal your own mind. Suffering wears you down and is self-inflicted. I know how to end it, but if you're still suffering, you don't. You must learn what I said, do it, do the work I recommend, and change yourself. Those that want to keep you in unconsciousness and weakness can't allow you to understand what I said, for in your healing is your power, and you make a better subject when you're powerless. It takes responsibility and work. And I just noticed that we're less than 10 minutes from the top of the hour. And so rather than moving into the next set of ideas, I'm going to just check in and see if we've got anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room, Jeannie. Give people a chance to ask questions. If you're on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show directly. And then if you have a question, push 1, and that raises a hand in the control panel, and Jeannie will introduce you by your area code. So, Ms. Jeannie, we had anybody with a hand up? We got about 4 minutes. I normally would have stopped a few minutes earlier, but I missed it. Go for it, young lady.
So, Linda,
you with
you're
us,
on?
Linda?
Yes, I am. One quick question before I run out the door. We got delayed in our commitment to go work. Anyway,
okay.
In the Old Testament somewhere, it says, I will write my words on your own heart. And
on your heart, yes.
On your heart. And something about...
In other words, my teachings are resident in your own unconscious.
And another part of that passage, or in another section, is written in the Old Testament that you will no longer need an intermediary. But I can't seem to find it. If you can find it and give that scripture, maybe in the notes or something, I'd appreciate it, because that's what Jesus, Yeshua, has been turned into. He's been turned into a God and an intermediary like Zeus.
And is required. There's a direct. It's in us naturally, and it becomes available more powerfully, literally on an energetic level, when we are aligned, and the energy field in which we live, move, and have our being aligned with it. It will instruct us directly. But the intermediaries who, that's how they get their food and their power, not real happy with that. No, thank you. We don't want that day to come. To me, the objective here is to make this teaching totally and completely unnecessary, because we've all stepped into alignment and it becomes available from within. But if you've got a huge structure to support, it's a little hard to say I'm going to throw away my profession. So.
Well, that's kind of why I've also dropped out of most alternative medicine, and I'm finding more and more professionals who are writing and posting self-help strategies where they're not demanding that you come pay them money. And I think that's so helpful, because I have found in my personal life that my self-help with the help of the Holy Spirit, of Ruha, our sacred breath in us, and asking to be shown, has helped me more than anything. I am led to where I need the information I need. I am encouraged to change in whatever way I can, that I'm willing to in the moment. And I have grown more by doing those approaches. It's honoring both that professional expertise and still saying, no, my way is very simple. I would rather do it myself with the help, do my own work with the help of Ruhas, my mommy God.
Yeah, and in the medical realm and in the spiritual realm as well, there are people who have specialized. If someone, let's cancel the thought, but if someone needs a surgery, I'm not going to get up on my kitchen table and take out my knife. I'm going to go to the professional who knows how to handle that sort of thing, who knows how to do that. And that's reasonable.
Exactly.
But when fear and intimidation are used to keep people on that teat, that's when the trouble begins.
Right.
would be my take.
So the first thing is to ask to be shown what is the best way for us, and then to follow that to the best of our ability. We're not given, it's like in Dr. Tim's show where he was saying the work is never done. We're not given the security of knowing that we're always going to make the right choice. What we're given is the security of saying when you choose love, your life's going to work better for you, and so is everybody else's that you come into contact with. That's my impression right now.
Well, definitely taking the tools and putting them to work is what leads to the result, for sure.
And thank you for that, Michael and Jeannie and Tim and Audrey.
All right,
and everybody, Susan and everybody, and blessings.
You have a blessed one, and everybody, thanks for joining us. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings. Bye-bye.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or